Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to our show. This is Special Life. Welcome to channel 786. Today, we will talk about the upcoming district elections on June 24. District 32 Assembly Leader candidate Anthony D. Andrews Jr. First of all, we are going to tell you about him in very few words. Anthony D. Andrews Jr. is a candidate for the NOS Assembly in District 32. He was born and raised in South Jamaica and has volunteered for decades with the Queen's Democratic Party, NOSC Health and Hospital, his church, and his labor union. Send him to Albany so he can do even more for this community. Dr. Andrews has a plan to improve your quality of life. As an academic and civic leader, Dr. Andrews has used his decades of experience and research to compile a detailed list of ideas he hopes to champion when in office. Without further ado, we will add today's guest directly to our screen and listen to him talk about this election, his relationships with Bengalis, and his future path. Okay. Um, Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, absolutely fine. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much. Thanks to you for joining with us.
Honored to join you this morning and really excited about this race and really excited about the fact that you guys are covering this race.
That's our pleasure. Now we can start our discussion.
Wonderful. Sounds great.
Yes, thank you. First of all, we want to know what about your background makes you qualified to run for state assembly?
Well, I've been involved for a number of years. Worked for a couple of elected officials, Archie Spigner, former city council person, and former city council person Thomas White Jr. And I was a liaison for Senator Al Walden for a number of years. Yeah, I've been involved in this community in terms of activism and in politics for 3 decades, more than 3 decades, and close to 3 decades as an elected Democratic Party official. So I know the community well. I've been in this community, been involved and active as a Democratic district leader and chairing the board of Queens Hospital Center. In addition to working at York College for a number of years, where a lot of my students just happen to be from Bangladesh. And so I understand the Bengali culture. A lot of the students were my mentees, and I have helped a lot of students graduate from York College, many of them of Bengali origin.
Thank you so much. And now we can throw this question. What are the three biggest issues you believe the 32nd Assembly District is facing?
I think one, the property tax is really a big issue for our residents. A lot of our residents are complaining that they're paying more and more in property tax every single year. But most importantly for us is the fact that we've got to fix the property tax issue because right now we are paying an unfair share burden of property taxes. Um, it's truly a burden when we're paying more in property tax than residents of Park Slope, many of whom are millionaires. Uh, how do you pay more than a community of millionaires in property tax? It just makes no sense. So we are really, um, you know, facing an unfair share of the tax burden in terms of property tax that needs to be fixed. Another thing that needs to be fixed in our community is affordable housing. We have a lot of seniors that are homeless and a lot of seniors that are hungry. Um, you know, I was out with my friend Shah about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I saw, and you know, we were actually feeding people on Hillside Avenue, making sure that people in this community were fed because there are a lot of hungry people in our community. You don't realize it when you talk to your neighbors, but I have to tell you, we have a hunger desert. We have a lot of families that are going without food, that are short in food, and we've got to make sure that we take care of those families. But how do you do that if they're paying, so much just to live in the community? So it's a choice of whether we feed ourselves or whether we actually pay our rent or pay for our condos or co-op or maintenance fees. We need real affordable housing in this community, truly affordable housing. And the only way to deal with that is to fix the area median income. You can't look at our community and take our community and include it with Westchester and Nassau and say that's the area median income, because those are areas with higher incomes, right? Their families have much higher incomes than most of the people in South Jamaica, for instance. So we've got to create an area median income that truly reflects the area which we live in. And that means we probably need to condense the area that we are looking at and make the median income possibly community board 12, with maybe just Jamaica, and a few other communities included. But we can't continue to include the suburbs, Nassau County and Westchester, and factor those into the area median income, because that means the median income is a lot higher for our families, and that means the affordable prices of apartments um, is going to be a lot higher. So we need to really see if we can do something to reflect the income of our families so that the affordable housing can truly be affordable for the residents in our community. And then another big issue for me is economic development, making sure the small businesses have the support that they need. Um, I've got to say, for me, it's huge to make sure that we have businesses along Hillside Avenue, Sutton Boulevard, Rockaway Boulevard, Jamaica Avenue, Guy Brewer Boulevard, that have the support that they need from government to make sure that they can continue to prosper. A lot of our businesses did very poorly during the pandemic, and some of them are just scraping to get by. Got to do something about that, right? So we've got to make sure that they have grants, that they have loans. Those who are applying to be small businesses get MWBE certifications. We've got to make sure that those businesses have a streamlined process so that they can get certified. Perhaps we can even come up with another certification so that those businesses that can't qualify as MWBEs can still be certified as a state small business so that they can still get grants and loans and support that they need from state government. Once you have the business community prospering in a community, that drives the economic wealth. You can begin to have money circulating within the community because people are not going to live too far from their businesses. They don't want to if they don't have to. So if you can fix the corridors, make the corridors really nice and inviting so that people want to, they want to frequent businesses on the strips. And then you give the businesses the support that they need to be able to thrive. You'll find that a lot of businesses that have, been going through difficulty during and after the pandemic may be able to thrive. And that's what we want to focus on, getting businesses to thrive also. So those are just three of the priorities I have in this community.
Thanks for your explanation. Few minutes ago, you said about Bangladesh and Bengalis. Now we want to know what is your history working with the Bengali community?
I have a long history. I'm being supported by a number of different Bengali organizations, and a lot of friends in the Bengali community have decided to come on board very early and support me. Um, I could begin to mention names, but I don't want to make sure, or I should say, I want to make sure that I don't miss anybody, so I won't start using names. And I won't start talking about the different groups because then other groups may say, you didn't mention our group. Our group is supportive. I have tremendous support from the Bengali community, but it starts really, truly, like I said, at York College, where I was the faculty advisor for student government, and one of my first mentees was Anaf Alam, and he's a good friend and a brother to this day. His uncle ran for office and was one of the first Bengalis in the Queens community to be active politically. And they created an organization. They got me involved, asked me to come out to their Democratic Club, the New American Democratic Club, and asked me to finally, see if I can assist them with becoming very active politically. But it started with my students. It started with my Bengali students at York College, a lot of whom I groomed and mentored. And again, if I started mentioning names, I'd probably get in trouble because I have so many of them who are my mentees, who call me to this day, who are supporting me in this race. and who've done a great job in terms of getting the word out about my campaign. Again, York College has a large percentage, and I don't know that people in the community are really aware of this, but York College has a large percentage of Bengali students, a huge percentage of Bengali students. And the Bengali students are very hardworking, most of them, academically. They want to get good grades. They've come here for a better life with their families. A lot of them are studying medicine or engineering, or they're in the STEM fields. Um, and they have high expectations. And as a person who is a faculty advisor for the National Society of Leadership and Success, which is our official leadership organization at the college, or at least one of them, and also who has been the faculty advisor for the student government, where a lot of our Bengali students decided to run for the official student body representation, uh, group. Uh, you know, I met a lot of students, and they gravitated towards me. They wanted to know, how do you become a leader in this community? How do you lead in society? What can you teach us so that we can become better prepared once we graduate? So a lot of them were under my purview as a faculty advisor. And I learned a lot about the Bengali culture over the last 20 some years at York College. And a lot of them, after they graduated, have become my friends. And I enjoy going and visiting not just their events, but their homes, and eating and partaking in the festivities, the different events. We would celebrate Bengali Independence Day every year at York College. And
Wow.
it was fantastic. We, have the flags flying. We'd have cultural dances and all the wonderful food, and I particularly like Polari. And I would say, I would say, for me, one of the favorite things for me to do is not just to hear the music and to see the cultural dances, but to eat the food, and to shop, for the best restaurant each year, to see which was the best restaurant in the community where we could get this from or get that from. The drinks, the juices. It was a lot of fun for me just finding out about the Bengali culture early in my career as the faculty advisor of student government and the National Society of Leadership and Success. But now I know all the best restaurants are, and I can, visit some of them and pick up things on the way home. And I can call my friends, who used to be my students and are now my friends, and tell them, hey, I'm interested in finding this. Where can you tell me, where can I get this from if I want to have an event and I want to have the type of food that I need to have of Bengali origin? And they will tell me, hey, this is the type of food you can get here. This is where they have the best this and they have the best that. And a lot of times, it is, me making sure that I have halal, and to make sure that the food we are serving is properly prepared before we bring it to the college. And they'll tell me where the best halal restaurants are also. So it has been an experience, a wonderful experience for me over the past 2 decades, learning about the Bengali culture and mentoring a lot of Bengali students from York College who are now becoming leaders in our community.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for your praising. You have been an educator at your college for over 2 decades. Please tell us about your experience there and your impact, please.
So I've actually worked at York College for close to 3 decades, 29 years as of this July. I've had students who have gone through York College with my mentoring, and one or two students I've actually had their kids now come back to York College and mentored their kids. So I've had a great deal of experience at York College as the faculty advisor for student government and the chapter of the National Society of Leadership and Success, where we try to create an opportunity for students to become leaders, not just at the college, but in society. And we train them to be leaders, teaching them about servant leadership, authentic leadership, and also showing them how to be a servant leader, how much it is truly important to not just lead, but to serve the people that you are leading. Um, and so I've also been a faculty advisor. Um, I should say a faculty member in addition to being a faculty advisor. And my faculty line is actually in behavioral sciences. It's political science, where I've taught American government, political science. And I've also taught student development at York College. Um, I am the Associate Director of Student Leadership and Campus Programs. And again, my doctorate is in executive leadership. So I have learned academically how to train other students. And I also have been a leader in this community for years. So I combine the academic with the practical application of leadership to teach students how to lead in society. And that's what I've been doing at York College for close to the past 3 decades.
Thank you so much. Then I want to know, you have been a district leader for 10 years. What is a district leader and what have you accomplished?
So a district leader is somebody who helps select and elect people for public office. We're the guys who are sitting down and talking to candidates who want to run for public office, and then we make a decision as to who should be the best person to represent the Democratic Party in the Democratic primary or in special elections. We also may cast deciding votes in the Democratic County Committee meetings for people who are running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, controller, U.S. senator. The district leaders are truly like the party bosses, right? We are the guys who make decisions about um, who runs for public office in the Democratic Party. And we're supposed to make sure that the community comes out and votes for those people we believe are the best candidates for public office. Um, at some point, I decided that it really wasn't enough, that I needed to take a step forward and not just help to elect people who are running for public office and to select them, but also to make sure that I took a different stand. And it was really, truly something that I had to really pray for guidance on, to think about, what was the best and next move, not just for me, but for our community. And eventually I decided that it wasn't just helping to select and elect people to run for public office, but that I needed to run for public office myself for this particular position because I believed that this would be the best position for me to take to serve this community.
Thank you. Until last year, you were the advisory chair of Queen's Hospital Center. What were your responsibilities and what did you do while there?
So I was the chair of the board of Queens Hospital Center, and I also chaired the Council of Community Advisory Boards for the Health and Hospital Corporation. Um, what we do is we advocate on behalf of the hospital to government elected officials to try to get more resources for the hospital itself and also for the Health and Hospital Corporation. Um, I also served many years just as a member, but I think I'm most noted for the time I've served in leadership at Queens Hospital Center, which is the only public hospital for our community in Southeast Queens. We try to address a number of the issues, also health issues of people in this community, by finding out what those issues are, targeting them, and then creating uh, departments or centers of excellence to try to address those issues. You know, we have a diabetes center, we have a cancer treatment and wellness center, because a lot of people in our community are faced with diabetes and also have challenges with cancer, different types of cancer. So what we try to do is address the needs of the people in the community by finding out what those needs are. So we're not only an advocacy group, the board, but we are also a liaison between the community and the hospital. And as the chairperson, I tried to make sure that we advocated on behalf of the hospital and also made sure the hospital was willing to address the concerns of the people in this community. And then as the chair of the Council of Community Advisory Boards, I advocated on behalf of all the health and hospital system. In fact, I even sat on the indigent care task force. So the indigent care formula was a very important thing we're trying to work on to make sure that our hospitals, our safety net hospitals, received their fair share of funding. And I was appointed by the governor and the New York State Health Commissioner to serve on that task force with the support of our CEO of Health and Hospital Corporation, Dr. Mitch Katz. So I've enjoyed my time there. And in fact, after 18 years, close to 2 decades of service with the Health and Hospital Corporation, um, very close, maybe even more than 18 years, close to 2 decades, I received the Marjorie Matthews Lifetime Achievement Award for my work and advocacy on behalf of the New York City Health and Hospital System and as the chair of Queens Hospital Center Community Advisory Board.
Times are flying. We have to finish our show. Lastly, we want to know, and our audience are also curious to know about why should the Bengali community vote for you?
You know, we've worked very hard to make sure we got our message out to the people. I think that all of my friends, and particularly in the Bengali community, understand how important it is to have a representative that understands your needs, that understands your concerns, that is willing to work with you, um, and is willing to do the things that are necessary to make sure that you have the resources to deal with whatever issues or concerns you have in your community. The Bengali community, for me, working with many of my students, many of my former students, and many of the leaders who are either connected with them by friendship or by family, is a labor of love. Um, the only thing I have not been able to get done over the last several years in working with the Bengali community is to be made an official Bengali, and that's something I'd like to have done. I would like to be I would like to be honored by being, somebody who is known to the Bengali community as not just a friend, um, but somebody who is honored in such a way that everybody knows that I am not just a friend, but I'm a member of the Bengali family also, because I'm so close to so many people who are leaders and so many of my students um, who happen to have family history from Bangladesh. Again, it's the relationships that matter. Um, it hasn't been the title; it's always been about the relationships and the close relationships I have with many people from the Bengali community. Uh, you know, has really, I think, gotten the attention of some of the Bengali leaders who did not know me to say, we're going to support this guy because he understands our culture, he understands what we need, and he has been working closely with leaders in this community for years. He just hasn't had an opportunity to show it, maybe because he's not run for public office. But for those people in the Bengali community and my former students, and some who are my students now who know, they know how close I am and how close I've been working with people in the Bengali community. And that's why I think not only running is, an opportunity for me to show more support, but being in office will be an opportunity for me to show tremendous support for the Bengali community because the relationships are only getting stronger as we move through this campaign, and it will only get stronger um, in the future.
And lastly, finally, personally, I want to know from my curiosity that do you know any Bengali sentence?
I'm sorry, any Bengali?
Yes. Do you
I'm
know?
sorry, any Bengali? I didn't hear you.
Actually, any Bengali sentence or word? Do you know our
Any,
language, about our language? Any word,
oh,
any
so
word.
that is something. So that is something I have never studied. I have not. That's very interesting. That's a great question. Um, all the years that I've had students, friends who have become very close to me over the years, um, except for telling me what the foods are and how to say them in English, no one has ever taught me Bengali. And so that's something I would like to learn, actually. It's something no one's ever asked me. Everybody's always spoken to me in English, but that is something I would like to learn. Thank
It's
you very
just
much for
curiosity. It's just
that.
curiosity.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's a
Can
great
I
question.
learn you one sentence? Can I learn you one sentence
Sure.
from 24th June? Okay. Uh, give vote. Vote for me. Its Bengali meaning is আমাকে ভোট দিন.
Amidin Din.
আমাকে আমাকে
Amake
ভোট দিন.
vote
দিন.
in. Is that it?
দিন.
Amake
জি.
vote in. Stin?
Exactly. জি.
Amake vote
Yes,
Stin.
yes.
Thank
Okay,
you
thank
so
you so
much.
much.
Thank
And
you
we
so
have
much.
to finish our show now. It was very great and a good time for me. And thanks again for giving us your valuable time. And thanks for joining with Channel 786.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, And I'll say this in English, and you can say this again in Bengali. The election is going to be on June 28th, and early voting starts June 18th through the 26th. Vote for Dr. Anthony D. Andrews Jr. It's time for a change.
Thank you so much. And our prayers and good wishes with you always. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Good night.
Thanks to you guys for watching this show, for being with us. And now we are finishing this show. And thanks to you, thanks to all of you for staying with us. Thanks again.